Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Morning Gardener, and I am here today because it's morning and it's the gardening time. So I'm definitely thinking about some of the things that I'm going to do in the garden. I did redo my spinach. I planted some giant spinach in with some regular spinach because I said, what the heck, put it in there. Uh, Another thing I did was I decided doing the kale and collard greens this year. I'm going to do in the fall. I'm not going to do them in the spring. So I decided on that. I'm going to do them in the fall. And that's been a decision that I made. Just going to stick with that. So as far as greens go, I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to do some cabbage. I'm going to do cabbage. I made up my mind I'm going to do cabbage. I have enough time right now to put cabbage in the ground, and let's get that going. So I'm going to do a whole bunch of cabbage and get that done. Heavenly Father, watching us all. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So let's see. Now, what do we got here? Got a nice picture. Let me take care of this real quick. And while I'm waiting for people to come into the room or online, I put it that way. That's absolutely correct. It's a really slow connection. Really slow. I've seen some really good videos today, and it really, really, really felt good to see them. All right, let me see what I got here. I'm just checking some things, folks. Gardening is upon us, and I'm waiting. Oh, thank you for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning, Price. Good morning. I came to you. I think I came on your page a few days ago just to check and see what you had there, and I don't believe you have a page that have any gardening items on it. I hope I wasn't somewhere else. And yes, I went there to check, look around, and see what you had on there. And I said, "Oh, okay." You just enthusiastic about gardening, but I didn't really see the any information on there that like plants or anything of that nature. The biggest bill. I'm just looking at a couple things here, folks. I said, do you think the warning might be too longer? I don't know right now but I do know that the weather has changed from the time that when I first started gardening, say 20 years ago. It's definitely different. I try to actually look at it and say maybe it's not different, but it is different. It is different. So we are definitely going into like weird weather, like we'll have like lots of rain or lots of sun or lots of cold or lots of wind, and it'll all come at one time. So it's like really rough weather when it does come. So yeah, I do believe that I do believe that it is really weird what we have going on. Okay, that's not right there. Yeah, so yeah, we got to be careful because the government we have now said that, oh, there's no global warming going on. It's, we're fine. Just relax. We're going to make this money for our ancestors. And then when it gets really bad, you might be able to survive, maybe, but that's not my concern. Okay, let's see. I think about setting plants earlier than usual this year. Yeah, do that because I mean I started mine. All you got to do is go on your page and say wherever you are. You can Google last frost date. Like I would Google last frost date in Baltimore City, and it gave me the last frost date. Then I looked at the plants. I said when I went and Googled again. I said when to plant cabbage in before the last frost date, and it said 4 weeks. Or if you say corn, it'll say six weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it may be. I'm just using it as an example, and it'll tell you when you should plant it. And I just make a little note of it. I mean, did any of that help you out any at all? I hope it helped you out. Some of them some things you're gonna start indoors. It depends on how cold it is where you are because I did the same thing with my peppers. I got my peppers up and running right now, and I did spend about $21 on a single bulb for my little shop light. This is like a 4-foot shop light that I set up to help me with my plants. So yes, and I do have to do one thing today: put in a cabbage. I'm thinking about doing cabbage this year, and also and I will be checking the date on that when I want to start it to make sure that I'm not, overstepping what I'm supposed to be doing. So yes, it's important that I've heard before. Yeah, I use Google to get that done, and Google tells me the information I get from Google. Let me do this real quick. There we go. Now I'm right in the center. Being right in the center of the page. It's just healthier that way. But yeah, definitely try to start some things indoors. There's a tons. I also have some videos up on how to make your own seed starter mix, and there's tons of videos out there on that. And you can get started. Start them early. Like for instance, I grow hot peppers. Hot peppers take anywhere from let's see what I got here. Anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks. You want to start them. So you want to get them up and going because peppers they're just slow growers. You want to get them so when you put them in the ground, they're at least about that tall and they're nice and healthy and they're you definitely have of age so that when they get there, they don't take them too long before they start producing. And another one you start in about like tomatoes, you start in 6 to 8 weeks. You start your tomato plants, so you want to keep that in mind from the last frost date. You just count backwards. Watermelons, if you grow watermelons or cantaloupe, 4 weeks before the last frost date. And okra I grow, which is 4 weeks, and you want to do it like that. That's how you want to do it. Keep it moving, folks. Well, I think you should be okay. You're asking these questions now. It's nice and early in the year, so you should be fine. I'm gonna tell you something I love, folks. I love this thing right here. I love this because when I drive off of my property, when I get about 2 blocks away, it turns the furnace down to 55 degrees. Then when I return, it turns it back up to the desired temperature that I have, set for it. And I love that because I've watched my utility costs go down. Corn. Let's see. Corn. God, corn. You asked a good question there. Let me think. I don't have that information. Thought I could. That's a good question though. You can Google when to start corn from your last frost date, and you Google that, and it should be some information there. Now you got to be a brave person. You growing corn? That is a crop that is, in my opinion, I say do it, but it's a lot of work for me. It's a lot of work. Yeah, but I love growing corn, but it's just if the wind don't knock it down, then every critter on earth is after it because of that sweet, sweet, sweet corn. I'm gonna tell you folks, I'm working hard now. I got everything up and growing, and everything's in there. Oh, some stuff is not started yet. Excuse me. Some stuff is because I'm only growing the things that are long-winded. It takes to catch up. Excuse me. Peppers, for instance, and like I said earlier, tomatoes, cucumbers. I haven't started yet because cucumbers are pretty fast growers. Squash, things like that. I don't start indoors. Why would I start? Corn. I don't start indoors. I really had a good let's say not going to start it inside the ground. Okay, so you excuse me. Yeah, you would still do corn. You would still Google it if you find out when you started. And it'll give you a good idea. But let me see something here. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Okay, Google. Oh, okay. Okay, Google. Now you would ask a question. I'm sorry. I'm saying. I'll check the internet to find out my soil temperature. I think I tried that before. I'm glad that I bought that little temperature gun because I just simply just pointed at the soil and hit it, and instantaneously, because right now I could go outside now, which I will be going outside in a few minutes. I'll be going outside, and so I want to check the soil temperature and see what it is because I need to know. But it's about 30 degrees. I would say it's about 30 degrees. The soil temperature is. Oh, okay. Hello, how you doing? And zone 7B. Okay. You in the same zone I'm in. Let me ask you a question. What kind of fruit trees are they? Oh yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah, those are pretty cold hardy trees. Now, what do you mean you left them out? You growing them in containers? Okay, you have a good day, sir. Yes. Good talking to you as well. Because my trees are same there: cherry, plums, peaches, apples, and yes, in containers. Okay, I figure you're a gardener. I'm gonna go check out your site. If you have pictures up there of your trees, because what I'm looking for is I've never grown trees of that in containers because they take up quite a bit of space, and so you obviously doing that for a reason. Put them in containers because when I first started planting fruit trees, I wanted or considered putting them in trash receptacles, for instance, 32-gallon metal trash can, a couple of holes in the bottom, and put them, and set them up and put them in there. But I said one thing about fruit trees, depending on whether it's a dwarf or semi-dwarf, is that they have pretty good sized root systems, but they can, in fact, be put in containers. How long have you had these fruit trees? I've had them in 25-inch. Okay, 25-inch whiskey barrels. Okay, that might work. But one thing you want to do, if you are growing them for fruit purposes, they have to get cold. They have to go outside. They have to get a certain number of what we call chill hours. If you keep them inside warm, you can put them outside, but they won't produce any fruit because they need to stay cold. Plants do what we call a dormant type deal, and they need to go out in the cold so many hours below 40 degrees. They have to have that. Whether it be 600, whether it be 400 hours of cold, they have to have that in order to produce fruit. They will not produce it without it. And I went out there, I'm looking at mine, and I'm seeing all the spurs on it and everything. And that comes from the cold, because the spurs weren't on there when the spring was here. They weren't there. I mean, the spurs come on because once the tree gets a certain age, they start producing those spurs. It's like a man getting hair in different places. When he starts getting a certain age, his voice drops, gets heavy, and then the little cousin or son or grandson used to sound like this, and now he sounds like this when he talks. And so, it's amazing. Nature has a way of sending you a signal that this particular life form is becoming of mating age. But I have I see people when I see people go into the store in those box stores, and I got to be careful when they're buying fruit trees. They got to be careful. A gentleman was in there one day. I'm gonna tell a little story about a gentleman. He was in there buying an apple tree, and I said, "Sir, I see you got a tree there." Because what got my attention is he only had one apple tree, and I know that you have to have two apples trees to get apples, unless your neighbor's got an apple tree that's within about 50 feet away from your tree to ensure pollinating. And so he's getting a tree, and the guy at the store, which, Home Depot and Lowe's and Walmart and all that, they don't know anything about what you're growing. They could care less. Their job is to sell it. I said, "Sir, you need another tree." And I said, "Also, how much room, how big is your yard?" He said, 4 feet by 10. And I said, "Sir, this is a standard tree. This tree is going to get about 25 feet wide, 25 feet tall." I said, "You got to be careful." And because this is not the kind of tree for an area that's small, unless you're going to stay on the pruning of it. And he said, "Well, I didn't know that." And I was just looking at him, thinking to the guy who said, "Stick it in the cart, $35 for the tree," and didn't tell him anything. And here I am, a shopper there / morning gardener. And I actually tried to help the guy out, because he get the tree and he hates the tree, and the tree, should never be, purchased if that's the wrong tree. Let's say this has been my first time growing in this area. I a container garden, very small. Okay, I got you. How many cherry trees do you have? What kind of cherry tree is it? Is it a sweet or is it a sour cherry? I already know your apple. Wait a minute, you didn't say apple tree. You said, let's see, let me go up and look back at what you wrote. That's true. I asked about 4 people in Home Depot, and they really said the same thing. Okay. They don't know. They have no idea what you're talking about when you say, "I'm trying to grow this apple tree," or "I'm trying to grow this peach tree." Now, peach tree will produce peaches on its own. Doesn't need a second tree. The plum tree, I'm not sure on it because I don't know what kind of plum it is. But the plum tree will produce, if it is self-pollinating, is a term you want to look for. Once you find out the name of your tree, you want to Google is it self-pollinating? But the peach tree is self-pollinating. The cherry tree, if it's a sweet cherry, you're going to need another tree to cross with that, because I'm dealing with that myself. I bought these trees and I had one die, and I got like 5 cherry trees left. And the 5 cherry trees, it's It needs a mate. So the tree I bought, hopefully it mates with those, because I bought it from a store online, and you know, if it produces blooms early enough, at the same time the early one blooms, I'm set. That means I'm going to have more cherries than I know what to do with them. Because when you got, imagine having all 5 trees go off with cherries at the same time. They cross pollinate. Okay, now when you say they cross pollinate, you talking about your cherry tree? Yes. Okay. Now, do you have a second cherry tree? Oh, I see. I got 4 people in the room. Hello, everyone's. No, I should get one. My wife loves cherries. Let's see. Okay, all right. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, absolutely. No, okay. I see what you got. No, should I get one? My wife loves cherries. Yeah, you're gonna need one, unless you got a neighbor that's like a yard or 2 away from. No, not 2 yards away, because you're gonna be hit and miss when it comes to pollinating. Um, but you need to have another cherry tree within about 50 feet of that cherry tree, and it must be one that is suitable to cross with that tree, and that's easy to do. All you got to do is find out what kind of cherry tree, or you might already know what kind of cherry tree you have, and you say, okay, I have a, say for instance, I have a Bing cherry tree. All right, what cherry tree crosses with Bing? And it'll be like about 2, maybe 3 or 4 different trees that will cross with it. You pick out one that you like, stick it next to it about 50 feet away from it, or closer, because you can put them closer, but you don't want to go, further than 50 feet. And then once you do that, you just wait, because cherry trees take anywhere from 2 to 3 years to start producing cherries. That's how that works. And depending on if it's a dwarf, semi-dwarf, or if it's a standard. Now, if it's a standard tree, it's going to take probably up to anywhere from 4 to 7 years to produce. Oh God, all this information is making my head hurt. But I've been doing this so long. And I retain a lot of information because it's something I just love. But yeah, find out what kind of cherry tree you have. Okay, all right, let's see what we got here. Okay, awesome. It's a dwarf. Okay. And it don't say semi-dwarf. Okay. Some people get them too kind of confused there. But you did good. You did real good. You got your dwarf, and trust me, you can keep those things trimmed down. They're gonna try to get big on you. Okay. I don't care what they say about dwarf. They're gonna get big. They're gonna get big. My trees last year, the weather was perfect. Got good sun. It got good food, because I feed my trees plants or branches, whatever, And that tree got about 20, and it's a dwarf. It got 21 feet tall and about 10 or 12 feet wide. And I went out there and hacked it all back to where it's back to about 5 feet tall. Some of them 4 feet. Well, no, about 5 feet tall. Wherever my reach is, that's where I want. I don't want to have to grab a ladder ever with this tree. And that means I got to stay on it. But all of them say will grow between 8 and 10 feet tall. They'll grow much taller than that. They got to say that to sell it. And that's how that works. And let's see. And if you look at the okay, if you write this down, you just look at what kind of tree you have. You want another dwarf that is another is compatible with that tree. That's what you want. And you get that, you got that battle won. You got it won. But the other tree got to go in, it's got to get established, and then it's got to start growing. Because it got to get established first. Okay. Well, I will keep an eye. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I was able to help. But yeah, people get these trees, and you can get food from them. Trust me. I get over 10 pounds worth of cherries off of one tree. Over 10 pounds. And one day, I was out there picking cherries off of that little dwarf tree, and I got so many cherries, I was sick and tired of picking them. I said, "The heck with this! It's too hot out here." And I picked what I'm gonna pick for the young lady, and got them to her. She said she ate all of them. I don't know how she ate all them cherries, but I can't eat that many cherries. And I got 5 trees out there waiting to bless me with a whole bunch of cherries this year. And I hope that they don't all do their thing at the same time. But the cherries I got for 2 reasons. One, they're very expensive. Very expensive. And well, actually 3 reasons. One, very expensive. And second thing is I like them because they're sweet. And what's the other thing? They're good for pains in any of your joints when you eat cherries. They're great for pain. They will help with arthritis pain and soreness and things like that. So, and it's great for a ton of other things, probably as well. So that's the name of that tune. That's the name of that tune. Cherry trees, durable little suckers. And cherry trees have even though they're dwarfs, they do try to get big on you. They do try to get big. They get about the trunk of mine right now is like that. And these suckers are only 3 or 4 years old. And the trunk's like that. And I got them and it was like this. That's how big they were. And now they're like that. And I'm happy with them because they're tough little suckers. They can die. I mean, they can, it's got something in the ground. I forgot what it was. They took one of my cherry trees and just took the root system out. Because when I went to rock the tree back and forward to see if I could pull it from the ground, it popped right out and it had no roots and it was dead. And I said, "Oh my goodness, look at this. My neighbor will be happy. It's only my wife and I." Okay. Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good. You get them trees up, you get them established, and you will save a lot of money. You got something expensive to eat. They will be big, pretty red, dark red. If you got those kind of cherries, and they'll be worth their weight in gold. You'll say this is really something. But if you let them get real big, you're gonna see so many cherries up at the top of this tree you can't reach. And you're gonna look at them and you're gonna say, "Look at this. I don't believe this. Look at all those cherries, at least 10 pounds, 20 pounds worth of cherries on the top of this tree, and I can't get to them." And that's just the truth. The trees get a good size to them. The other tree you mentioned was a plum tree. Find out what kind of plum that is. Because, I mean, find out what brand name that plum is. Because I have, what kind of tree is that? I got a Santa Rose, and I have another one called a Stanley plum. Now, Stanley plum is a gardener's best friend, a Stanley plum. Sweet, durable little tree, will self-pollinate on its own. And really a great tree to have. It's really a great tree. If it's a Santa Rose, it's a different tree. But if it's a Stanley, it's a pretty good tree. So I had one tree out there, which was another one, which was a Bruce plum. Another good plum, but it died. I put it in the ground and died. And I'm glad that it didn't cost me anything. These trees did not cost me anything. The plum trees. Well, one plum tree did, but the Stanley. Where did I get the Stanley from? Oh, okay. I know what I got. Okay. The Santa Rose was free. I'm gonna tell you a little story about Santa Rose. It was a company. They're out of business now because they did really bad, rotten work. They really did. They sent me a tree. They sent me 4 trees, and I never ordered them. I never ordered these trees. They were dwarfs, and they sent them to me, and they were so skinny that I came online like I am right now, and I said, I'm gonna let all of you decide what should I do with these 4 trees. And unanimously, everybody said, they said plant them, because I was gonna just whatever with them because I didn't want them. I had no room for them really, and all of them was about as big as this pen. That's how big around they were. And I put them in the ground. I put them in the ground and said, live or die or whatever you're gonna do. And I didn't care for them. I watered them every so often. I didn't really, and I left them there. These trees are so big and pretty right now. The one I'm telling you about, they are so big and pretty. They caught up with the other trees that I had that were expensive trees. They caught up with them. And this year, now I did get some plums last year. Now, here's the funny thing about fruit trees. When you grow plums, if you leave them on there and there's too many plums on the tree, the plum tree will drop its own plums. It won't drop all of them. It'll drop a lot of them to get that load off. And usually the first year that it produces, it's going to drop them anyway because it's not old enough to raise all those plums to full size. So the thing about it, what you want to do is you want to take off a lot of the plums. It's a lot of information out there on it, but you take some of them off. That way, instead of your plums being this big, they might come to this big. And that's what you want to do. And my eyes adore you, and I never laid a hand on you. All right. I am near standing water. How to get rid mosquitoes? Depends on where the water is. If the water is somewhere where you can put in one of the mosquito little droplets, and you want to read all the information on it, make sure that it doesn't hurt any of your plants or your trees or anything like that. And you drop one of them little things in there, it'll kill them things by the millions. And that's what you want to do. You want to make those mosquitoes so unhappy that there's no reason why they would ever be around you. Because, I mean, they will drive you crazy in the summer. You just got to keep throwing like this and doing like that and looking. You know you didn't get them. So, mosquitoes, yeah, I deal with them a lot on my property. They'll lay inside of an old tire, and the inside, once it fills with rainwater, and that rainwater sitting there for months, it'll sit in there, raising trillions of these things, these mosquitoes. It'll raise them. It'll raise them. They don't need a lot of water. 1 million mosquitoes can be born in a single cap of water. Them things were meant to survive. And they are brutal when the weather's hot and it's sticky outside. And they go after some people for just their blood type. And then if you're wearing any kind of perfumes and stuff, they love you. They definitely love you then. Any kind of colognes or perfumes, they go for you. And it's always the females that bite, and they take that blood to their new offspring and they feed it to them. Let's see what we got here. I see them in my backyard already. Is it winter where you are? Because right here where I'm at, let's see what's the temperature here. 27 degrees right now. Oh, I'm sorry. You're in Baltimore. Okay, all right. Okay, so you're in Baltimore. It should be 27 degrees. There should be no mosquitoes out. Wait a minute. Did you see a whole bunch of them flying around each other like that? And they just circling, but they real tiny. Yeah, I saw those. I see. Right. The last 2 days have been the coldest. And I found roughly a week ago, I found a wasp in my house. So that is that's messed up. 2 days. I said when it was 50. Okay, yeah, they'll hatch out when the temperature get right, and then they'll die off as they get cold again. Yep. Forgot about that. We did have some warm days. One thing I will say is that you can come to this channel here and get good information, and I'll try my best, my absolute best, to give people good, solid information. And if it's something I do not know, I will not tell you. I like being like that. You know, don't say anything if you don't know, because you can mess somebody up and send them backwards, and that's something you don't want to do. But fruit trees, I have blackberries, raspberries, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries. So I got those, and I got all my fruit trees, and I got also my garden I'm putting in. You're right about that. I appreciate it. Oh, anytime. But I hope that you much luck with those trees, because I know they're going to be some work. I already know that. I've been there. I've done it. I think what I got about 25 of them out there. They work, and if you do it right, you'll get beautiful, beautiful pieces of fruit. If you do it incorrectly, you'll get fruit filled with insects and wasps, and fruit falling on the ground, and the wasps flying around you because you're trying to clean it up. It could be a real nightmare. And if you put them close to your house, you think the tree, it's not gonna get too big, and it'll get big, and it'll be coming up against the side of the house or the windows and all that. Done all that. Had to take trees out because I was enthusiastic. I was trying to grow everything when I first started out, and I went from 25 trees, from 30 trees down to 25, because I said, take these trees out. Now I did what they call high density planting, which simply means close together. And when I did that, I was all set, because high density planting allowed me to go, I got it. And my trees are planted 21 inches apart. 21 inches apart, and they all took off. Groups of 3. I mostly do mine in groups of 3. Some people recommend you could do them in groups of 4, groups of 2, and they'll do their own deal. Yep. All right, good people. This has been the Morning Gardener. Getting ready to head on out of here and go out into this cold yard. I got my new, this is the first pair I had. Definitely going to need a pair of these. I bought these at Walmart. No, excuse me. No. Home Depot. I think it was like, I'm going to say $24, something like that. $24. Okay, so these were $24. Beautiful pair. And I'm going to tell you something I like about them. I called him up. I sent the email. Told him I had a problem with these, which I did. I had a problem with them when I first got them. Because I went out there and I was a little rough with them. I was actually pretty rough. And when I got rough with them, I bent the part of the blade here. When I bent the blade, it kept biting its own blade. So called them up. No, I got the packaging. And here's what the packaging. Let me just put it like this. Here's what I did. You see the differences in the packaging. I'm going to just show you this real quick. See how old one of the packs look? This was bought at Walmart about 3-4 weeks ago. Brand new. It just said it was underneath a counter. It fell out of the pack. In fact, it was set in front of the pack like this. It was on the ground. And I went up to the guy and I said, listen, I need to speak to a manager. Manager comes out. I said, listen, can you help me out? I'm trying to get this off here. He thought I brought it in for repairs or for trade. He said, this was back there? I said, yeah, it was back there. How dirty the packaging is. So here's what I did. I said, could you give me something off the price of this or, work with me on it? He said, $13. And I said, okay, I'll take it. Went home, looked at the packaging. After I damaged them, I think I damaged them. Only thing I know they wasn't working. Now they're working perfectly. But I saw this up on the packaging. It was on an old packaging as well. It said, full lifetime warranty. You know what that means, folks? So I hit them up. I'm just let them know. I didn't expect them to send me anything. I said, let me hit them up and tell them what's going on with it and go from there. Because I hate that I spent $13 and it's not working. This thing is not working. But anyway, I got them and went ahead, hit them up, and they sent me back an email saying that we will replace it. 3 days later, this brand new one came in the mail. And it says lifetime warranty. I said, oh my God. I said, I like that. I like a company that stands behind their product. So when I started messing with these, I took a pair of pliers. And I didn't know at first you could fix them. I took a pair of pliers and took this part of the jaw here, put the pliers on it, and bent it this way. Gently. I just rocked it. And then I did this. I said, wait a minute. It's working. Hey, it's working. I said, this thing is working. And there it is. So, because this wouldn't lock. The lock. It keeps it safe when you set it around. Now, everything on it works fine. See, it's not open now. Not open there at all. So, $24 pair of secateurs, and the company stood behind them. And these are the smoothest feeling tool I've ever had in my hand. It was purchased at Home Depot garden section, and it's just a beautiful tool. So I'm gonna go out there and use it a little bit this morning because I now got it working, and I'm happy. But be careful with these. Oh my God. You can't see the scar. One day I'm cutting on some, going like that, cutting, and I'm moving all fast because I got to go to work. And it did like that and went right through. And I closed it up and I looked and I couldn't believe it, and it was anyway, I learned to respect these the hard way. So everything looks good here, folks. I've been on here an hour, almost an hour. Well, good people, this is the Morning Gardener. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it very much. And I'm going to go get some sleep because I got off work and I still got a show done. And I'm supposed to have been home sleep. But I wanted to make sure I touch base with everyone. Thank you and have a good day. And remember to keep on growing.